Hi, everyone. It's Amy, the roaming historian, and I am happy to talk about something today with you that, golly gee willikers. Back in 2013, when I first went to Italy, I was so excited because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna finally get good Italian food, right? Because I loved Italian food. Now, first off, I didn't really know the difference at the time between Italian American food and Italian food. But I also didn't know how to pick a good Italian restaurant. So that's what the travel tip I'm sharing with you guys today, folks. If you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by. I am a history professor during the academic year, a travel blogger all the time, though. And I love to go to Europe, especially Italy. I spend a lot of time there, but we travel the world whenever I'm not in the classroom. And if you're coming back to my channel, thank you. I appreciate you coming back. And I appreciate it if anybody would drop a comment, subscribe, and like the video. So anyways, how to pick a good Italian restaurant. I had nightmare experiences the first time. I didn't know a lot about what you're supposed to do regarding, how you get a good one. And I didn't do any research. Had I to do it over again, I definitely would be, I would have watched shows. Andrew Zimmern, who's shown here. There is, Anthony Bourdain had some videos. There was a bunch, and I found them later when I got home after having some kind of bad food. Um, and I learned, okay, do my research, find out what other people have suggested, look around, and then anywhere you're going, because you're not going to always have a. First off, it can be laborious, right? Who wants to have an itinerary of food? Well, I do, but besides that, sometimes you just, hey, you're stuck where you're stuck, and people say, oh, don't eat around a tourist trap, or don't eat around a tourist site. You're going to end up in a tourist trap. Well, sometimes you're hungry and you're at a tour, you're in these major cities. A lot of it has landmarks by it. So what do? Read the menu. First off, try to look for local foods. So for instance, if you're in Rome, carbonara, cacio e pepe, amatriciana, gricia, those would be normal. Spaghetti bolognese? No. Actually, even in Bologna, you probably shouldn't get spaghetti bolognese because you'll notice they'll call it, pasta ragu. You'll look for the local ragus. If you're in Florence, maybe look at the schiacciate. Here I have a menu of a favorite sandwich place of mine, Da Vignetere. And so, look for things like Lamprodotto there, any of the local stuff that they're known for. Look the menu. I like to find menus that are generally written in Italian. I like to look for menus that are changeable. I love an erase, an erase bar chalkboard where it could change, or where you go to some places where they still print up the menu, if not daily, at least seasonally. Beware though of the menus that are in multiple languages. Now, the world has changed. This used to be like only look for Italian. You're going to have hard time finding, even in the most remote area of like a big city like Florence or Rome. You're still going to find that they're probably also in English. But be a little aware of these. One, look out for those pictures. The pictures mean the food never changes. The pictures mean that this isn't seasonal. We always will give it to you. Look for, in Italy, they'll tell you if they use frozen food, they have to. And so there'll be a little asterisk that will say, and then at the bottom it'll say, this might be frozen, So, you want to have porcini when you're in Tuscany. It's amazing. But porcini mushrooms they're seasonal. So, look for, if they have it always on their menu, it's probably they're using some type of canned or frozen substance. And if you don't want that, you don't want that. Look for, all these flags. These flags are telling you they're not looking for locals. They're looking for every single person who might possibly come by. Beware of the hawkers. This is where I fell apart the first time. So, well, the first time in Rome, first off, I ordered a dish that wasn't typical of Rome. I didn't know that. It was a pasta dish. Um, I had the menu was easy for me to read. I took that as a good sign. It had a picture. I took that as a good sign because I'm like, oh, good. Um, and so, by the way, it was a mushroom dish, a mushroom pasta dish that I had the first time that was definitely some type of canned or frozen mushrooms. And there was a guy, this is AI generated, but there's a guy out front saying, come in. And he was flattering me and he was a ciao bella. And, everything about it seemed good. And it was not good. It was definitely a tourist trap. And I overpaid for what I could have gotten. Probably nowadays, I noticed that at the grocery stores in Italy, I could have just microwaved it myself. So beware of those people. If their food is good, they don't need somebody telling you, hey, come on in. If their food is good, it's good, and nobody needs to, they're not staying out front, they're busy working in their restaurant. And so waiters aren't standing around. If their food is good, they're hopping. And I'm going to say this too. I didn't put this in a PowerPoint, but I think, or on a slide, but I also think that, be aware of the ones that are open all day. Those all day ones generally are tourist traps. It's not a given, but there are set hours. So usually the lunch hour is about 12 to 3 in Italy, and then it would be rare to find an authentic local place that opened before 7 p.m. So 7:30 for the first seating, and then around 9 o'clock for the second seating is normal. And so if you see things, if you're hungry at 4 o'clock and you find a place open, you might be in a tourist trap. So in that sense to say, I've had some good food at tourist traps. If that's your thing, go for it. I'm just trying to give you, here are some tips that will always help you if you're stranded somewhere and you're looking for really good, authentic food. Eat where the locals eat. And this goes without saying, but try to find places where you hear Italian when you're in there. That you can tell that you can tell by the way people dress. I can pick out my countrymen. I can pick out pretty much a Canadian or an American by the way they dress. I can pick out Germans by the way they dress. I've gotten pretty good over the years at kind of playing spot the tourist, right? And I can tell an Italian generally by the way they dress. And so if I look in and I hear a bunch of Italian being spoken and I see what looks like to be Italians, I can guess that I might have gotten a place that is pretty good, because if if a local's willing to spend their money there, I'm willing to spend my money there too. Don't go hungry. This is where the worst restaurant decisions I've ever made have been made in desperation. Every time that I have had an utter restaurant fail, I can say was because I or my husband were on the verge of just a breakdown of hunger. And we were what you call hangry, right? We were angry and hungry. And then we just picked a place and said, fine, we'll eat here. And it was never good. And then I was more upset because I wasted money. I wasted money on something where I could have maybe just even had a sandwich at a stand and I would have been happier and had something better. So, if you're not used to eating as late as Italians eat, get a gelato or go have a drink around 5 o'clock and they'll give you aperitivo and have some chips or some olives or a little charcuterie or something like that to stave off the hunger. Do something, have a snack. Heck, I always pack. I go to the grocery store the first thing, and I never leave for a full day. Like if my husband and I are going to a museum or something, I always have packed some type of snack in my bag, whether it's a granola bar or a protein bar, a candy bar even. There's been many a time where all I could find was a little tabacaria, and I went in there and bought a Snickers, and at least, it had peanuts. It was enough to stave off the hunger so that we could enjoy our day, and then we could go have a leisurely lunch or dinner or whatever we wanted to without feeling like I have to just pick something now because I'm starving. Lastly, I would recommend the food tour, especially if you're new to an area. You're going to get the best experience possible because one, you're going to get the history of the city. Though I don't think you even have to be new. I take food tours every year and I spend a couple months in Italy every year. And I still take food tours of the same cities that I'm in for a couple months that I plan to retire to. I still take food tours. Because every tour guide is different. Every tour guide gives me a little bit more insight into that area. Every tour guide will give you ideas about where to eat, and they're always different, you know? And so I have fun just trying to explore and have different experiences. I'll give you some links below of some tours that I recommend. But you know, that's, you know, basically it is that, um, I think that you really just, you know, you need to get out and explore and try to make yourself maybe even a little uncomfortable, and get into that place that seems like it's not, and maybe it doesn't have La Dolce Vita, right? It doesn't have the outdoor tables and it doesn't have all the things. But if you really want a great food experience, that would be the way. And a food tour, though, is going to give you all of what you need. So, all right, ciao for now. Let me know, what are your favorite, do you have a favorite tip for finding good Italian restaurants? Do you have a good Italian restaurant that you'd like to share? You know, I'm always looking for new ones. All right, ciao for now. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day and take care.